All right, welcome back to the Snug Wrestling Podcast. We are here to review Monday Night Raw's August 17th, 2026 edition episode of Monday Night Raw. We are live tonight in Buffalo, New York, and we are just about roughly, 2.5 or so weeks out from Sunday night's main event. Now, this was a very had something to do with future stakes, or there were stakes already on the line for these matchups tonight for the majority. Now, not all of them, but the most of them. So that means this show really did have a lot of important stuff to say and or set up, and did a match that came back and was already going on during commercial that pissed me off. But as far as it goes, I, of course, am Mr. Blood, former professional wrestler, actor, and voice actor, and a very proud part owner of the Snug Wrestling Podcast. But we have people here with us, as always, on this amazing panel. First up would be the incomparable Tommy, who always is a part of this amazing team, and Toxic, who is not here tonight. We know you guys have been asking about Toxic and love Toxic. He has just started back at school. He's getting back into his schedule. He will be. Then we would not be here without the drum roll, the founder and my amazing co-owner of this phenomenal wrestling podcast. But the brainchild of this podcast was that of our incomparable, our amazing, our champion, our handsome Mexican papi from the West Coast, Edgar, the head of Snug Wrestling. And gentlemen, all glaze aside and pause and then unpause if that's your type of glaze. Please tell me how you guys felt in layman's terms about this episode of Monday Night Raw, and let the people know how you're doing.
Overall, I myself am doing pretty good. The show itself was it dragged. It really did. There was multiple spots where I looked at it. I'm like, dude, why is there so much going on? Just give me the good shit at this point. But overall, let's get into it.
God damn, I gotta step up my intro game after that one. Damn it, bro. You freaking blew me out the water with that. But yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, Sunday night's main event is Sunday, September 6th. So yeah, we got a couple weeks for that. We already got one match that was announced tonight for Sunday night's main event, which we'll get into later on. But yeah, we had the tournament for the number one contenders for Roman Reigns. A couple of those matches took place tonight. Yeah, man, there's a lot of stuff to go over here that happened on Monday Night Raw, so I'm pumped for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we started off the show in what felt like a very fresh way, I would say, because we're normally, since Mania, starting off with Bloodline stuff. We're starting off with, Vision stuff. Oba stuff. So it was very nice that the women's division got to open up the show with that of Stephanie Vaquer, a returning Stephanie Vaquer, who returned last week in a segment with Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, who is now subsequently out of nowhere a babyface, of course. But Stephanie gets in the ring and she says, I don't want to talk. I want to fight. She calls out Liv Morgan. Liv comes out with obviously Raquel Roxanne. And Liv says, you know what? Becky says that while I'm champion, I am literally like throwing away all the goodwill and hard work that went into making this championship, all the women who paved the road in the past. But Liv says Becky's wrong because Becky doesn't care about the women of the past, and she doesn't care about the women who were coming after her either, meaning that in of Stephanie Vaquer too. She says she's a champion for herself. She doesn't care what anybody thinks, and she is on her way to becoming the longest women reigning world champion of all 20 minutes later time. Now, Liv is worried about Stephanie Liv, let me rephrase. Liv says she's not worried about Stephanie because she says, I've already beaten you. I'm the one who took this title off you at WrestleMania. I'm the one who beat your ass so bad and jumped your ass out of the company for the last several months. So why should I be worried about you? Now, obviously, Stephanie's going to stand up for herself, and Stephanie, in my opinion, unintelligently goads all three of them down to the ring, and they come down and begin to jump the hell out of Stephanie until Liv Morgan, as soon as she's about to get the upper hand, Becky Lynch's music hits and she comes out. and Becky makes the save. However, while making the save, she comes face to face in a similar spot last week that her and Stephanie came face to face, and Stephanie's pissed. Stephanie is shouting at her, I don't need your help. I didn't need you to come down here. Stay out of my way. And what I thought was interesting is that the baby faces were going to stand tall until their bickering was the very distraction that allowed the heels to get the upper hand again. They beat them down, and essentially the heel stood tall just because of the infighting from both of our baby faces and that of Becky and Stephanie. So what did you guys think of this opening segment? Me personally, I thought it was decent setup. I've heard Stephanie cut better promos. Obviously, we know there's a language barrier there. But I like that Liv, just kind of doubled down. Is like, I don't give a fuck about any of the women before me or after me. I'm here for me. And I like that there's tension between Becky and Stephanie too, even though Becky is the babyface. Although I still stick to what I said last week. I think I'm having a hard time buying Becky as a babyface again when she spent the last near year and a half plus as a heel. And now I just don't think the fans care about her as a babyface anymore because she did not get the reaction she used to when she was still the man.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem, is the fact that Becky is way better as a heel than she is a babyface. There are multiple different wrestlers that are that same way. Like at first, Roman Reigns was that way, where he was way better as a heel than he was as like the big dog, that babyface that he was. So there is that. But I have a feeling, because they did go face to face later on in the show in the backstage segment, where Stephanie basically said the same damn thing, which is, I didn't ask for your help. I didn't need your help. So I have a feeling like it's either going to be Becky and Stephanie at Sunday night's main event, or, and Snug, you're going to hate me for this, this could end up being a triple threat, maybe at Money in the Bank if they decide to drag it out till then.
Yeah, if they did it, I wouldn't care. I mean, there's something missing here. Like, I have yet to really get invested in this trio that they're trying to do with Liv and Becky and Stephanie Vaquer. It's just not hitting for me right now. I thought it was interesting that they decided to start this off with this segment for this show. Like, compared to everything else that we had on this show, like the stuff that's happening with Roman, the stuff that's happening with Oba and Braun, the number one contenders matches, out of all the things, I'm glad the women are getting, the first segment to really kick off the show and get most of the viewers on them. But this isn't the strongest segment, storyline, build up that they have on Monday Night Raw. So I thought it was an interesting choice that they decided to start off with this, because usually the beginning of the show, you want to start off with something strong to really hook the audience, And even me, I'm going to watch this show regardless, but even me going into this, I was like, really? That's how we're going to get started? Okay. But yeah, man, there's just, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're going to do. Like I said, I'm just really not really big on this feud right now, unfortunately. Also, I didn't like how they kind of made Stephanie Vaquer look kind of dumb. If I'm being honest, she's getting jumped. Becky Lynch comes out to save her, and then Stephanie Vaquer starts talking shit to Becky. I'm like, okay, you're welcome. Thanks for helping me, bro. I was getting my ass beat, but I'm still mad at you. Like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, imagine goading three people, one of them being like 6 feet tall, to come and beat your ass, and then someone comes out to save you, who you told off last week, and they still have the courage to come out and risk their own health to help you, and then you still basically tell them to fuck off. And it's like, bro, like, you stupidly invited your ass to get jumped 3-way, and you're mad that someone came out to save you from this dumb decision. Kind of hard for you to fight for a championship when you're too injured to fight for it, Stephanie. So which Becky made that point later in a backstage promo straight to her. And she even foreshadowed, she goes, well, good luck next week in your match against Roxanne, which I'm sure will be a straight one-on-one, and there won't be any outside interference or teaming up on you whatsoever. Like, Stephanie, you're a baby face, but it's 2026. They don't have to write her to be a stupid baby face. But moving on to from one goofy-ass decision to just being plain goofy, the Usos segment backstage. Jimmy and Jey Uso are basically like coming out of the locker room. They are rubbing Jay's win over Solo in his face. And they are uncharacteristically super giddy. I mean, like overtly giddy. Like this is when I'm telling people they're not heels, guys. They're tweeners. Like they're hamming it up like Solo does, dancing around him, shucking and jiving like 15-year-olds. And uncharacteristically, Solo has reverted back to Enforcer Solo. He's just quiet, not saying nothing. He's just 1,000-yard stare, walking down the hall with him. They're trying to bring him to Roman Reigns. And they run into LA Knight, who's sitting on an equipment box. And LA looks like he wants to help him, but they basically tell him, you know what it is. He knows what it is. And Tribal Chief's waiting. And there's no getting out of this. So I just want your quick thoughts, because this wasn't very long, so we don't need to spend a long amount of time on it. I just want your quick thoughts on how did you feel about seeing Solo be the one unenthusiastic, unenergetic, and seeing Jay and Jimmy act like Solo?
It's honestly not surprising at all to me, especially knowing the fact that that Solo did not want anything to do with the family. It's the entire reason why he made that deal in the first place last week of if he wins, the entire bloodline leaves him the hell alone because he didn't want anything to do with it. But here we are. But it again leaded the question that I asked last week, which is, will Solo fall in line?
Yeah, the thing that was going through my mind when I saw this, because I was thinking, okay, how are they going to do this? Is Solo just going to show up? His music is going to play while the bloodline is in the ring. How is this going to go down, right? And then Solo Sikoa shows up to the arena with the Usos. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess Solo really is in the bloodline because they showed up together to the arena, which means, they've been hanging out. So everything is good. Solo's in the bloodline. But yeah, we see Solo's, demeanor. He's really quiet, not really saying anything, while the Usos are over there just being really, really happy, overly joyed Jimmy and Jay. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. It's always great to see Jimmy and Jay having fun on TV. They feel accomplished because, hey, we managed to get Solo Sikoa back in the bloodline, something that Jacob Fatu wasn't able to do. We ran the play, so the Usos were like kind of celebrating, but Solo didn't look too happy. He didn't look too happy.
Yeah, my thing is Solo, like, you've already gone back in your word once, after you lost Tribal Combat. Like, like I understand, like, you're a babyface now, but if you don't want, like, they didn't play fair last week, you don't have to either. Just like, motherfucker, like, just don't show up. Like, but that's just me. Like, just don't come into work.
Yeah, but also the story that they told with Jacob Fatu, he didn't want to join either, but because of the respect of the family.
Yeah,
and,
it's a lineage thing, and I get that part. And Solo's doing the honorable thing for now, which we'll get into. All right, the first match of the night, which this is what pissed me off. WWE's pacing and their bullshit amount of adverts and commercials. This match between Javon and JD McDonough was already underway when the commercials got done. Like, it just cuts to, and I was kind of like whiplash, like, okay, well, let's see what the first match is. What the fuck? Like, he's got him in the turnbuckle? Like, what the hell's going on here? When did this happen? Commentary trying to tell us how it all got started instead of from last week and all this other bullshit. And I'm just like annoyed, right? Now, I did like the story they told during the match, and that was that basically Javon kept getting the upper hand on JD, and once he had him in the timekeeper's area, he went for his spot where he runs around the ring and then does this really cool, like diving or jumping crossbody over the barricade and lands. And he nailed JD right perfectly, by the way, into an office chair. Really cool looking spot. But unfortunately, on the landing, it looked like he had tweaked his leg. I believe they said it was his, I think it was his left leg. It might have been his right leg, but I could be wrong. And they told the story in the match of JD then continuously targeting and going after that leg. Now, I would like to say, I want to give JD props here because, or not JD, sorry. I want to give Javon props here because to me, I was like, damn, Javon like made it look so natural. Like his knee could have definitely been tweaked in that spot. I didn't feel like he had to force it to look injured. Like the way he landed looked like he could have tweaked his knee. His leg did get kind of jammed up in the chair when he landed on JD. And I thought he very naturally and organically made it appear like, oh, fuck, my leg. I think I fucked up my leg. Because for the first like 10 seconds before JD starts working the leg, I genuinely believe like, oh my God, did he just hurt himself? Like I, because he starts shaking out. I'm like, fuck, did he really just get injured? This is not good. I bought it, which is a good thing, which speaks to Javon's selling ability. And I really liked that. Now, Javon wins. We'll get into the beatdown and stuff afterwards. But I do want to say something that this match reminded me of before I mentioned the post-match beatdown, because he gets jumped again, obviously, by Big Cass, and he does get the upper hand till Big Cass puts him down. But like this whole match, I was getting Jeff Hardy vibes. And then the beatdown after 100% solidified the Jeff Hardy vibes for me. Javon Evans is beat down already by Cass. He's laying in the ring. And we're getting the shot of Big Cass going up the ramp. And Big Cass does look very great, very impressive looking man. And you just hear Javon calling him out on the microphone. And he's like, is that all you got? And I loved it because then Big Cass comes back, beats him up, but Javon goads him, gets the upper hand until Judgment Day, specifically Dom, fuck Javon over and he gets attacked again. But Javon gave me real Jeff Hardy vibes here, because it reminds me of when Jeff was fighting Badass Undertaker back in the day in that Extreme Rules match or ladder match they had. And when Undertaker's leaving the ring, like Jeff's up against the ropes and he famously grabs the mic and goes, hey, Taker, I ain't finished with you yet. I'm still standing. And it reminded me of that. And I just wanted to say that was a really great moment, because I genuinely believe Javon as that Jeff Hardy type, the charismatic fight from underneath underdog. And I loved it. I really loved it.
Well, I don't know what's going on with Tommy, but yeah, I wish I could have seen how this match was set up. Unfortunately, I was watching Netflix without the VPN, so I was watching the USA version, so I didn't get to see how the match was set up. The announcers did a pretty good job of trying to catch everyone up, but I still had a lot of questions. Like, from what I understood, Javon Evans came out to the ring and called out Big Cass, but instead got Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough. Okay. And I guess they got into a little confrontation, and that's how the match started. But they didn't say why JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio came out. That just seemed really random and out of the blue, but whatever. We get this match between Javon and JD. It's a good match. Javon Evans looked great. He looked impressive. JD McDonough is a classic seller, so he made Javon Evans look like $1 million. And then after the match, we get the third attack in a row, 3 weeks in a row where Big Cass attacks Javon Evans. And now I get it. Okay, so the point of this was not actually the match or to get Javon Evans over. It's to build up this feud more between Javon and Big Cass. So that takes a while. Like, Big Cass waits until after Javon's match and then attacks him from behind, beats the crap out of him. And Big Cass starts walking away, and then he goes back for some more, but Javon Evans tries to fight back a little bit, and he does. He manages to get his hands on Big Cass a little bit, but Dominic Mysterio and JD were still out there. They basically helped Big Cass. So okay, now I'm like, okay, so the main point of this whole thing was for Big Cass to get a lot more heat on Javon Evans. So I think we might see this match go down pretty soon, and I'm looking forward to it. I would like to see Javon Evans throw down with Big Cass soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I would not mind that either, simply because of the fact that it is Javon Evans, and I love Javon Evans. I love how bouncy he is, how fast he is in the ring. He's just that damn good. He is him. I know that is another wrestler, but still, he is overall just how he is, and I absolutely love it. So I seriously would not mind if here within the next couple of weeks we hear that it will be Javon Evans versus Big Cass at Sunday night's main event. I would not mind that at all. But yeah, this match came out of nowhere. Why? Because Javon decided it would be a great idea to come out and call out Big Cass in the middle of the Judgment Day's talking. So that was that. That's how this match started up. JD basically goes, hey, you still are always on the dangerous side, aren't you? And then this match happens. So I kind of expected Javon to win, and he did. But Big Cass is always there. Can't wait for this match to happen.
All right. If you're looking to unwind with the hangover or without the hangover or the haze, you got to check out Good Feels. These are THC infused seltzers made with all natural ingredients, clean, crisp, and consistent every time. It's the perfect way to relax, kick back, or just vibe with friends. Without the usual drawbacks of alcohol or traditional THC consumption, each can's crafted to give you that uplifting, balanced feel, whether you're chilling at home or out with the crew. And because you listen to Snug Wrestling, you get 20% off your order at shop.getgoodfeels.com. Just use the code SNUG at checkout for the highest exclusive offer you won't get anywhere else. Full transparency, we earn a small commission when you use that code, but it helps keep the show going and gets you the best deal available. That's Good Feels, Real Chill, no hangover, 21 up and only. Again, shop.getgoodfeels.com and use the code SNUG, SNUG at checkout for 20% off your order. All right, next up we had, I believe the first match of the night, that is, but not in the tournament. I believe this was technically the semifinals or going into the semifinals of the tournament for the number one contendership tournament for the heavyweight championship for Roman Reigns' title. Now, this match was Rey Fenix versus I believe Fiscal is his name. Now, Rey Fenix, I believe, is a AAA Cruiserweight champion, and they go in and have this match. Now, they have a really good match, good showing. I definitely feel the crowd gave Mr. El Fiscal here a lot more than they gave the gentleman last week on Raw, where that was versus Penta, where they were kind of booing him. But when it comes down to it, I thought this was very competitive, good back and forth, great high flying ability. I like that we're showcasing these AAA guys. I like that they're smart enough to utilize AAA guys on the biggest brand possible, even if they're not going to have them win, because Rey Fenix did get the win here. And that makes sense. You know, you want him to win. He is one of your champions over on your brand, but he's also a built up WWE luchador, and he's known on the main roster. My only problem with this tournament is it feels like the majority of the guys that are going to win this stuff are going to be the guys that are mainly guys that were main roster first before they did anything in AAA with WWE. And that kind of aggravates me, because though I understand you're trying to appeal to the mainstream audience that knows the guys like Rey Fenix and Penta and Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio and all that other stuff, you have this other brand that you guys own in that of AAA that are filled with ridiculously talented and incredible athletes that I feel like are constantly having to do the honors on the main roster for main roster talent. And though they're getting a showcase, I feel at some point you got to let these AAA guys get the wins here on main roster at least once or twice, because to me, it just feels like, what's the point of calling them up if you're never going to let them prove that they can beat and or hang with these main roster guys all the way through a match to the end for a win? But that being said, what did you guys think about Rey Fénix versus El Fiscal?
Overall, the ending was not surprising to me at all. I had a feeling like Rey Fénix was going to win this one. Hell, I even said last week that I completely agree with Soto when he says that the finals will probably be Rey Fénix versus Penta. So there's that. And I'm not trying to be offensive when I say this. I love the Lucha Libre stuff. It's awesome. I cannot look at El Fiscal without thinking Power Ranger, because he is the one guy that looks so much like a damn Power Ranger that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, that crossed my mind too, watching this match. There was an interesting thing that the announcer said before this match, that both of these guys were debuting on Monday Night Raw. And I'm like, what? Rey Fénix? I guess this is the first time Rey Fénix has wrestled on Monday Night Raw, because he's mostly been on SmackDown since he's been in the WWE. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, it was a good match. And to your point, Mr. Blood, I think the payback for this, because you're right, like a lot of the guys that we're seeing advancing in this tournament, yes, they're luchadors, but they're WWE talents. And that seems to be the case, not just in AAA, but also in TNA. You know, a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, WWE is always beating TNA. What's the point of this partnership if WWE is always going to be winning? Now, it might be different when it comes to AAA, but I think I guess WWE's thought process is most likely this. You know, we're going to have things like this tournament involving AAA and WWE guys. The WWE guys go over, and that puts them, I guess, by putting them over, it makes them more popular, it makes them bigger. So in time, whenever these WWE luchadors go to AAA, it's a bigger deal. Like it's the fans in Mexico, the AAA fans get more excited. The energy for their shows turn up when someone like Dragon Lee shows up, or Rey Fénix, or Penta. So I think that's a part of the reason why most of the time the WWE guys end up going over, because those are the guys that are drawing most of the money down there in AAA. So yeah, I agree with Tommy. I wasn't surprised that Rey Fénix won. I think that the right guy won. It was a little predictable, but it makes sense.
Fair enough. And I think we're all in agreement, because the moment I saw El Fiscal, I legitimately thought Power Ranger. All right, moving on to Sol Ruca versus Lyra Valkyria. Now, obviously, we know this match has been, in the works for a couple of weeks now, ever since Lyra spotted Sol backstage and took umbrage with the fact that she was trying to get back her Intercontinental Championship that she was screwed out of by the women of the Judgment Day. And Sol is, she's on that rock. So she's a little crazy, a little cracky. And for me, this was the match of the night until the last match of the night, because I got to give it to Lyra here in this match. She is one hell of a technical wrestler. And a lot of times you forget that, because sometimes we don't see her wrestle often enough. And I feel like we actually do not see her wrestle that much. She's been on the main roster for roughly coming close to 2 years now. And I genuinely think that we have still seen way less of her than we actually realize we have, at least in ring in a match. Because she spent a lot of time with Bayley in just segments, and a lot of time with Becky in segments. or she's just not on TV for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. And they go, oh, yeah, that's right. We forgot we were booking Lyra in a story. They bring her back. But look, Sol Ruca finally got tested, in my opinion, with a real technician. She had that match with Bayley last year at John Cena's final Saturday night's main event, which was great. But I feel like Lyra made Ruca have to level up here. The opening third of this was really, really good shit. Lyra found a smart way to stop damn near all of Sol's offense every time Sol was rallying or gaining momentum. There were some really good spots here. Lyra, however, did lose to Sol, which surprised me. She ate the Soul Snatcher, got the pin. And I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? That they would have Lyra put over Sol when Lyra's got the new heel gimmick. Lyra just beat Bayley. But then it makes sense to me because, again, I mentioned that Saturday night's main event from last December. Well, Sol Ruca beat Bayley there too. So if Sol can beat Bayley, she can beat Lyra. And I'd also like to know that Lyra, even though she's a heel, if you notice, she didn't use any cheating whatsoever this whole match to try and win. She just wrestled super aggressively, super viciously. And had she beaten Sol clean here, I wouldn't have been mad at it either because she wrestled in a very, very good style tonight. There was something, I may not be a fan of Lyra's current character because I think it's a little hokey. It reeks of, smoke and crack. But when it comes down to it, when she's in the ring between her and Bayley and this and Sol, I gotta say, I love her wrestling as a heel way better than I liked her wrestling as a babyface. The aggression just adds to her technical style, in my opinion. And I thought she made Sol look really, really good here. But I was a big fan of this. But yeah, now Sol can say that she has beaten Bayley and Lyra.
Yeah, now Sol can officially say that she has beaten both members of a team that were tag team champions at one point. So she can absolutely say that. Technically, she can say that 2 times over because she's beaten Becky before. So there's that. But Sol winning, it had to be via a battle. She had to battle it out completely with Lyra. But for me, compared to how she was at the beginning when she debuted and how they were using her then, Lyra has sure as hell gone downhill for me character-wise. And I feel like Lyra has become a whiny little bitch. And it makes me wonder how she's going to whine out of this one.
Well, first of all, let's start off with let's not call women bitches on this show. Second of all, at least Lyra has a character. Okay. What Sol Ruca, sorry, Mr. Blood, but she's boring, bro. I know she can do the fancy moves and all that stuff, but at least they're trying with Lyra. She's got this new attitude. She's got this new gimmick. And I even like the promo, the little video package they played before the match where Lyra was like, okay, I can do all that stuff too that Sol can do, but I'm not going to do it because it's stupid. And I agree with Lyra. And when I went into this match, going into this match, Lyra was wrestling more aggressive. She kind of turned up that intensity, which I liked. So I enjoyed this match. I'm not mad that Lyra lost. I'm not surprised that she did. It makes sense for Sol Ruca to win. But yeah, Lyra didn't cheat, and I think it's just going to throw her more into the deep end, Lyra. And eventually she's going to start getting dirtier, more aggressive, and hopefully cheat later on in the future. But yeah, I thought this was an interesting match.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point Lyra's character may grow on me. It feels to me that they've dropped a little bit of the hokier aspects of it, at least from we saw, I guess, in that video package earlier in the before the match. But time will tell. I also do disagree. I do think Soul does have a character. Spunky, charismatic, young, athletic female who basically is a crowd favorite, fan favorite. In my that's like saying Jeff Hardy had no character. Like
No,
it is because
Jeff Hardy can cut a promo.
Well, I mean, Jeff Hardy was also in the business since 1992. So I feel like he had way more time to cultivate that because I can tell you his earlier promos were dog shit because I've seen them. So when it comes down to it, I think you got to, with both of these women, you have to give them time to grow with the audience for a while. And Lyra, who's been on the main roster for 2 years, this is now a new character for Lyra. So it needs time to cook. And Soul has only been on the main roster for a handful of months. She definitely needs time to cook and for them to build her a character. But that being said,
can I ask you something?
Stand up job to both of these women.
Can I ask you something real quick?
You can try.
So Soul just got to the main roster. She's been there a few months. In those few months, how many times has she cut a promo in the main roster?
They've only had her cut, I would argue, less than 7.
It's been less than 3.
No,
it's only literally been 2 times that I can remember since she's been in the main roster.
She's definitely because she cut 2 or 3 against Becky alone, and then she cut 1 against Liv. She's had the segments backstage where she's talked and cut with Jackie Redmond, Kathy Kelly. She's had several, but again, it's not really on her. It comes down to them giving her the opportunity. Pardon me, folks, I sneezed. It comes down to them giving her the opportunity to speak because the only way you get better at promos is by doing promos. And if they're not going to give her more chances to talk, how is she supposed to get better at talking?
And how are we supposed to get behind her to get to know her and understand what she's about if she never cuts a promo?
Well, listen to that audience when she's out there wrestling. They love her. So it's, there's different ways to fall in love with a character, and then we can build on the nuances as we go. So it's just about character building. It's the same thing with Lyra. She's a phenomenal wrestler, but people do not give her enough credit for her wrestling ability because they are stuck on her past cringy promos. Remember her Becky Stompers and all that other shit? So it's a matter of mistakes will be made, but there's a window to buffer.
I just want to see more from Soul when it comes to that because we get more promos from Stephanie Vaquer, who's almost never there and doesn't really speak any English. And I would hear more from Stephanie than Soul, which is crazy.
And I would argue, in fact, I feel like most people would argue Stephanie's promos are pretty hard to get through. So it's, and that comes down to being a language barrier. But when she cuts in English, because it's not her first language, there's no emotion really in her English. So it's very monotone when Stephanie cuts a promo. Even Liv had to grow to get as good at being annoying and as hateful as she is now. She wasn't this good 3 years ago. It just takes time. But let's move on to a very interesting segment here. One that I really liked for the character building aspects of this story alone. Braun Breaker goes out to the ring after a backstage segment interview with The Vision, which I'm not getting into because it was cringe as fuck. And he calls out Oba and he says, if Oba wants to be the future, he's going to have to take it from Braun, which I love that energy. And that's a really good line. You want the future, Oba? You want to be the future of WWE? You got to come and take it from me. And I really like that energy. I like the intensity off rip. But instead of getting Oba, Paul Heyman comes out and the crowd's like, oh, because Heyman's been kind of playing manipulative a little bit with Braun as of late, playing both sides. And this was getting really interesting. And Braun asks for a third time, 2 times last week, 1 time tonight. Heyman, tell me, who do you think the future is? Is it Oba or is it me? And before Heyman can really answer, Oba comes out, Aura Farman to perfection, and Oba gets in the ring, and he says, you keep asking Paul, and he does this amazing impression of Braun Breaker, which is going viral right now. who's the future, Paul? And he like literally like drops a Nigerian accent to literally sound exactly like Oba. And as voice actor and an impressionist, I was very impressed. And I loved it because Oba says, Braun, you know who the future is. You know it. The people know it. I know it. And even more importantly, Brock Lesnar knows it. And that really got under Braun Breaker's skin. Now, Braun is about to put hands on Oba and tells him, let's fight right now. And Heyman puts his hands out and stops Braun. And this is where it got interesting. We get the big ooh moment from the crowd. And Heyman says to Braun, if you take one more step toward Oba, you lose me. Or I'm taking a step away from you. It was something like that. And I was like, damn, bro, you throwing away like a year and a half of friendship and work? I'm like, you a greedy son bitch, aren't you, Heyman? And I love this a lot. Heyman basically tells the whole audience, this is a surprise to Oba and Braun. I already spoke to Adam Pearce. This match is not happening on free TV. It's happening at Sunday night's main event. And the contract signing is next week, by the way. Now, the last tidbit I want to mention about this segment was when Heyman and Braun seem to be on the same page in the ring. Heyman and Braun shake hands and get out of the ring, drop their mics, and laugh off Oba. But Heyman stops halfway through the ropes, turns around, looks at Oba, and reaches his hand out to Oba to shake his hand too. And Braun sees that, and Braun looks visibly pissed off and confused and look of betrayal on his face, like, wait a second. What did I just see? What's going on? And he looks at Oba, who's happy about it, and Heyman walks past him, and Heyman goes, it's just good business. But it leaves Braun standing there looking back at Oba and looking at Heyman like, am I getting screwed over here? And I love that character beat. And Braun sold those facial expressions so perfectly. Braun is really coming into his own for me as a performer here, not just in the ring, but as a character and his work and his timing. They're doing a great job with him, but I loved this. What'd you guys think?
I also absolutely love this so fucking much, especially with the fact that it's Oba Femi versus good old Braun Breaker, in which yet another WWE fucking loves these things, apparently. NXT run back. So happy with this. And one of the lines that I absolutely loved out of this came from Paul Heyman, where he looks at Braun and just goes, one of us, or two of us, are standing in this ring knowing how the business works. One of us seems to still be learning. Clearly pointing out that Oba knows how this works. Braun does not. So I cannot wait until Sunday night's main event to find out who the future really is. But next week is the contract signing, which means we know exactly how that's going to go. Somebody's going to go through the table.
Yeah, a lot of things happening here, man. A lot of good things are happening here. Like they keep teasing like this this friendship that Paul Heyman and Oba Femi might or might not have, which I think is interesting. And also the big question is like, okay, who is the future of the WWE? But I feel like we all know who the future is at this point. I mean, just comparing the crowd reaction and like the storylines, the booking of like between these two guys, the fans are behind Oba Femi 100%. The fact that when Braun Breaker asked Paul Heyman, who is the future Paul of the WWE, the lights turn off, and Oba's music hits. So right there, the WWE is telling us, well, it's Oba Femi, right? That was one thing. And I also thought Paul Heyman's lines were great. When Oba and Braun were about to throw down, Paul Heyman stops Braun Breaker And he's like, no, we don't answer to the fans. We don't answer to anybody. We answer to shareholders. And if we're going to have a match like this, a big time feel match is going to be at a bigger stage. And Paul Heyman made the announcement that it's Sunday night's main event. This match is going to go down. But since Mr. Blood, since you were doing some callbacks, I want to do some callbacks of my own. Because this reminded me of the situation with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Brock Lesnar way back when they wanted to have that match on Monday Night Raw, and Stone Cold Steve Austin decided to go home because he's like, the fuck, can you imagine? This is a huge match. We can make so much money, and you want to do it on a Monday Night Raw. So I kind of got that same feeling when it comes to Obafemi and Braun Breaker, because yeah, this is a huge match. I'm glad they're doing that Sunday night's main event because it's in a couple weeks, so we don't have to wait too long. But also, I feel like this could have been at a way bigger stage than Sunday night's main event. But it is what it is. Yeah, who's the future of the WWE? That's not the only question. The other question is Obafemi the next Paul Heyman guy? I think that's the other question too. A lot of people are wondering. But yeah, I thought this was really, really good stuff. Oh, and speaking of good stuff, if you like to drink coffee like I do, I mean, like I'm talking about like good coffee, then you should check out our friends from the Strong Coffee Company, because we are sponsored by the Strong Coffee Company. And they got a lot of good premium lattes if you don't like the super dark stuff. If you like the lighter stuff as well. This coffee is convenient, it tastes great, and it's not your average cup of coffee, because the Strong Coffee Company offers a smooth flavor with 15 grams of high quality protein, 5 grams of MCTs, and 250 milligrams of adaptogens, including ashwagandha, and it's designed to give you energy, focus, and alertness without getting all jittery. So unlike a traditional instant coffee, this stuff has all of that and then some, all the good stuff on top of that as well. So yeah, it's easy to prepare. You can add it to your busy schedule. It tastes great. And you can get 20% off if you use our promo code SNUG at checkout. That's promo code SNUG, SNUG, for 20% off at Strong Coffee Company. Like, what are you doing, bro? You're going to be drinking this stuff every day anyway, so you might as well do it right and do it with the Strong Coffee Company.
All right. Moving on to our next match in the Heavyweight Contenders Championship. So many different ways this could be said, and I feel like it's awkward to say whatever the tournament's name is. In general, heavyweight whatever for Roman Reigns through AAA. Pardon me. Dragon Lee versus, I'm going to just say the WWE version of this, because they confused the hell out of me on commentary with how to say this dude's name, and they gave me the backstory on his father and this and that. I was like, okay, but what's his name called? So Dr. Wagner Jr. That's what I'm going with. Okay. This was a fine match, in my opinion, very reminiscent of the first match earlier in the night, not the first match itself, but the first match in this tournament tonight, and that being Rey Fenix versus El Fiscal. Again, similar layout, similar pacing. I'm going to be honest, a lot of these moves looked very much the same, so it didn't really feel like it was separate or its own thing from the Phoenix Fiscal match, in my opinion, though I do think they put on a great bout, a great show. I'd even argue that it went around the same amount of time as well. But of course, surprise, surprise, and I mean that sarcastically, Dragon Lee, the WWE luchador guy, gets the win here. I thought Wagner put on a great showing, but to me, this match was kind of here than gone. What did you guys think of this match?
It was a very good, very high-speed match, as most luchador masks or matches are. They are always so quick in the ring, all of that. But what I find very interesting is the fact that at this point in time, there is only one true AAA guy left in this tournament. And like I said before, I have a feeling like by the time we get to the finals, there will be no true AAA guys left. That last man standing is La Parka, who is also going to be in contendership. I believe, Snug, remind me if I'm correct on this, that Fatal 4-Way is this week, right? Yeah, so La Parka will be in a Fatal 4-Way on NXT to see who the number one contender will be for Rey Fenix. So that screams to me that he's losing against Penta when that match comes around.
Yeah, another good match. You know, I watch AAA every week, so I'm all for this. This is my what is Corey Graves like to say? This is my house wheel, if you will. Yeah, Dr. Wagner Jr., he's one of the guys from AAA that has been getting a lot of shine, a lot of attention from the WWE. El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. has been on NXT a few times. He's wrestled Ethan Page for the North American title. He's wrestled the Vanity Project for NXT tag team titles with his brother. So he's a much bigger star, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., compared to a lot of the guys in AAA. So it was cool to see him again on Monday Night Raw. He's also a former Latin American champion. So they're doing a lot of great things with him. So it's always good to see Dr. Wagner Jr., El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. But yes, he's much bigger compared to Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee still got the win, but Dr. Wagner Jr. looked really good in this match too. So I think they definitely killed two birds with one stone with this one.
All right. And you know what I like is that WWE likes to have times where they just focus on one group of people. There wasn't too long ago where they had a couple of weeks throughout a span of like maybe a month or two where they really focus on majority of like the women's division for a lot of Raw and SmackDown. And now it just feels like they're focusing a lot on the Lucha Libre aspect, the AAA aspect, because for the third match tonight, it is a match with Lucha Libre. Rey Mysterio, you could argue the most famous luchador of all time, and for many, the greatest of all time for many, versus Penta, the new Intercontinental Champion, in his first ever defense with this title. This match was match of the night. And for me, at first, it was Soul and Lyra, and then this one just took it. And I kind of had a feeling it would because look who the fuck's in the ring, Chad and Rey. Come on. And they had an extremely competitive match, a very good back and forth. The crowd loves both of these guys. And sometimes the audience doesn't know who to pick when it's two baby faces because they don't know who to root for. Rey is a legend and a Hall of Famer, but Chad's new champ who's had that moment with his family at SummerSlam, who has a whole redemption arc that he built over 2 years of story with Lucha Libre and Luchador. And to me, this was just fantastic. The crowd was behind both of these guys. There was a moment or several minutes toward the end where it definitely felt like the audience really wanted to see Rey get it. But man, these guys between reversals in that final third where they're reversing, like he keeps getting in the ankle lock on Rey. Rey like flips him over and then Chad holds on. Then he rolls him forward and Chad still has the ankle. Then he finally gets him into the freaking 619 and Chad freaking reverses it and then gets him back into the ankle lock. Like you really bought into the drama with these two because you're talking about two underdog wrestlers here who are both fighting for something important. Rey to get one more, and then Chad to retain for the first ever. And I love the finish where it protected both men. They had gone back and forth so much. Chad was just a little bit quicker and a little bit stronger, reversing a roll-up that Rey had started and holding the legs down, not illegally, completely fine in the confines, so it wasn't an eked-out victory. and Chad retains. This was phenomenal. This was a great first defense by Chad Gable.
Completely agree. This is 100% match of the night. There's no fucking doubt about it. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was a not battle, it was a war to retain that belt. He had to fight for it. Rey Mysterio was not making it easy on him whatsoever. And what I love is that when Rey went over to the belt just to look at it and hold it up, commentary put over the fact that Rey Mysterio is a two-time Intercontinental Champion. So there is that. They did put that over. And I'm happy that Chad Gable won, because I seriously do want him to have quite a long reign, if possible.
Yeah, I love this match too. I loved everything about it except one thing. There was one thing that stood out to me like a sore fucking thumb when it comes to this match. The match itself was fucking perfect. I mean, Chad Gable, these two guys are like a match made in heaven, honestly. I can see them wrestle all fucking night. Chad Gable looked impressive versus Rey Mysterio because Rey Mysterio is a lot smaller than Chad Gable. So Chad Gable looked like a freaking monster. The way he was just manhandling Rey Mysterio, you know, hitting him with all kinds of suplexes, really just overpowering Rey. Chad looked really good. And that's what you want for your new Intercontinental Champion. You want him to look physically impressive and physically intimidating, and he did. Rey Mysterio, bro, like, he's in his fucking 50 years old, bro, but he's still out there having these types of matches, proving that he can still perform at this high level. It's pretty fucking crazy, bro. Like, I was like, God damn, right? Because I've seen some of Rey Mysterio's other matches when he's like in tag team matches, just regular TV matches. Like, Rey Mysterio picks and choose when he's going to go all out and when he's going to have a certain type of match. And tonight was a night where Rey Mysterio turned up the pacing on this match. Like, this was an Intercontinental Championship match. It's versus Chad Gable. Rey Mysterio understands that this is a brand new champion. Let's make this motherfucker Chad Gable look really good.
And it's technically the main event too.
Rey Mysterio fucking looked insane in this match. So did Chad Gable. So in that sense, the match was perfect, right? The only thing that I did not like about this is the fact that this is a babyface versus babyface. And because of that, the people were getting behind Rey Mysterio because obviously it's Rey Mysterio. And he had some false finishes and he hit a 619 and oh my God, Rey is actually going to do it. Is he going to do it? I don't know if that's what you want to do with your new babyface champion, who we went through this whole story with Chad Gable. He's gone through so much to finally win the big one in his hometown in front of his family. And his first title defense is versus one of the biggest baby faces in the company. And everyone wanted to see Chad Gable lose tonight. That's the only thing I didn't like about it. But other than that, the match was fucking great.
I do agree with you there where you do run the risk when you're babyface versus babyface. If there is a babyface in particular you're trying to get over in this scenario, you put someone in there as popular as Rey Mysterio, you do run the risk of it going the opposite way and having the opposite effect. Because this could have easily turned the audience to boo Chad for winning. But they ran the risk. It worked, but it was a risk. I will say that, Rey's very smart. He's been doing this so long. He's been injured so many times. He knows when I'm going to just take it easy and do the match and be safe and do the stuff that people want to see. The 619 is what they're here for when I'm in the ring. And then when he's got a one-on-one of this caliber in the main event match of the evening, and it's a title match, I mean, how do you not go balls to the walls? Because Rey knows, how many of these chances to do this type of match do I really have left? He's already in the Hall of Fame. He's damn near halfway retired. He's the general manager of AAA. Like, How many of these does he really have left? And he went out there, and it's just proof, the little man with a big heart. Ray doesn't have gas left in the tank. That boy's got diesel. Okay, so and he fucking put on one hell of a match tonight with Chad Gable. And you know who I really want to see Chad feud with next? Who I desperately actually want to see him wrestle? JD McDonough, man. Like, when is JD going to get his chance to shine for a title in the Judgment Day? I have this big feeling that JD and Chad would put on some of the greatest wrestling fucking clinics like that we've ever seen on Monday Night Raw. Like, give JD a chance. That's all I'm saying. All right, moving on to the main event segment to end the show. The Roman Reigns segment, of course. Now, Roman Reigns wastes no time. He comes down to the ring. His entrance for once isn't 20 years long. He comes down. He calls out Solo. Now, Jimmy and Jay, I didn't realize they had new tag music because now it says, "It's just you and me, Oos." And I'm like, how many versions of this song are we going to get in the last 3 years? But they energetically bring out Solo. And Roman says, when Solo's in the ring, he goes, people think I'm petty because I hold on to these grudges. But he goes, how can I not hold on to the grudge that I have with you? You backed out of your word. It was about he said 3 years ago, but the tribal combat match was literally like 2025, January 5th or 6th, like on the premiere of Raw. It has not even been 2 years yet, Roman. I don't know where you've been. But and then he basically starts bullying Solo, like makes fun of his watch, say, "Oh, you got a John Mayer on, you got your chain and these sunglasses." And he takes Solo's sunglasses off, and they looked expensive. And then he steps on him in the ring, bro. Now, I'm sure they agreed upon that ahead of time and everything. Maybe those are some false glasses that just look really expensive. But, bruh, all I thought was, what if Roman called an audible and did that without asking his cousin permission? I would have got backstage. I'd have been so goddamn mad. I'm like, those are my favorites, bitch. But Roman basically just bullies him. Jacob attacks Solo out of nowhere, puts him in the tongue and death grip, puts his ass on the ground. Roman starts, fucking highfalutin pontificating all over the ring, and then he starts praising the Usos, saying, "Hey, I'm the tribal chief. I'm in charge. But the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, these are my captains. Anything you say to disrespect them, you disrespect me. If it comes out of their mouth, you treat it as if I said it." And he gives them 2 brand new black Ulafalas to show their status with the bloodline. But the thing I noted was Jacob looking extremely disrespected and feeling let down and betrayed because he's done everything Roman's asked, but these 2 get the Ulafalas. And I thought that was an interesting thread. Basically, this devolves into the Usos holding up Solo Sikoa to basically or not Solo Sikoa, sorry. This devolves into LA Knight coming out to save Solo Sikoa. He does a great job at first, doesn't work out. Now remember that Roman made Solo stay in the corner after he attacked Solo, said, "I didn't tell you to do that. Stay in the corner. You don't move until I tell you." And he suns Jacob. So now there's 2 forms of disrespect that's happened to Jacob in the last 2 minutes. Now the Usos hold up LA Knight. He's going to do what he is trying to force Sammy to do to Kevin Owens back at the Rumble in 23 and tells him, "You're going to take him out to basically initiate yourself back into the bloodline." Solo goes, "I'm sorry," begging with LA, "I'm sorry," but then spikes Roman instead in a great moment. And the Usos start attacking. LA and fucking Solo start teaming up and whipping ass, but Jacob stays in the corner and don't move. Solo looks like he's about LA looks like he's about to get fucking taken out from behind because he's focused on Jacob. Like, "You're not doing nothing." Roman goes for Superman punch, reversed into a BFT, look great, and Jacob still don't do nothing. And then Solo gets back in the ring with Jacob. They fist bump and they walk out together, leaving. And I like this visual image. Jacob standing in the corner with his arms crossed, not saving his tribal chief while his tribal chief lays on the ground, clutching his throat. I thought great character work building for Solo Sikoa, character work building for LA. The Usos now have official Ulafalas. They're now on the level of Roman, acknowledged as such. And then the character beat for Jacob. How much longer is he going to be this rabid dog, this enforcer for Roman Reigns before he breaks and turns on them? The disrespect and what that's going to mean going forward. Because now, remember, Jacob said, I don't got to do anything you two tell me. I answer to the tribal chief only. Well, the tribal chief just gave them captainhood tonight and said, anything they say, you treat as if I said it. So what do you guys think of this going forward? Because I thought this was all around an extremely successful segment. Everybody looked great coming out of it for different reasons, and it pushed the stories forward, and everybody got character development here. But what did you guys think?
Yeah, Roman, I don't know where the hell you're getting 3 years from, because that tribal combat match was at the debut on Netflix, January 6th of last year. So where the hell are you getting 3 years from? Involving the Ulafala stuff with Jacob, as much as I understand why Jacob is slightly pissed at him for it, Roman had been with the Usos for fucking years before that. Like, the Usos have been by Roman's side, except for that little bit of time where they were broken up for a bit, and then the Bloodline 2.0 shit started happening. So overall, he had been with the Usos for a whole lot longer than he's been with Jacob. But you can hear, like, from the cameras, Roman looking at Solo and going, dude, you brought him into this. You did this to him. You have to take him home. That's on you. And then you can hear Jimmy going, you know what to do. Do it. You know what to do. Right before Solo says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Spike to Roman. So I absolutely called it last week that Solo was not going to stand in line. I knew he wasn't, because there was no possible way that they were going to have him be a babyface for the last few months and then screw it all over as soon as Jey beats Solo to bring him back into the Bloodline. There was no possible way that that was going to happen. So there is that. He walks out with good old LA Knight. I want to see a full tag team out of this. I have a feeling like this is going to end up being a tag match eventually with Solo and LA Knight against the Usos. So let's hope that's the case.
Congratulations, Roman. You played yourself. Nah, I was not expecting this to go down this way, man, but I'm glad it did. I mean, Mr. Blood, you mentioned character development, man. This is going to put over Solo in a major way. Like, I feel like Roman did this same thing, for Jey Uso, for Sami Zayn. Like, those guys really got over with the fans with this whole Bloodline story, right? And I think Solo Sikoa, they're going to put a fucking rocket on Solo after this, because, man, this was huge for Solo. The people are going to get behind Solo 1,000%. At least that's what I'm hoping for, right? But yeah, man, this was so interesting because Solo turns on Roman. That was huge. And then LA Knight comes out for the save. Jacob Fatu jumps LA Knight at first, and then Roman stops Jacob. And this goes back to like last week or a couple weeks ago, where there was a backstage segment where Jacob told Roman, hey, I'll handle LA Knight. And Roman goes, no, I don't want anybody to touch LA Knight. I'm going to handle LA Knight. So Jacob Fatu was just following orders. He was like, hey, I was going to help you, but you told me not to touch LA Knight, not once, but twice. So I'm not going to touch him. So when Roman Reigns needed Jacob's help, Jacob was like, nah, fuck that. You told me not to do anything, so I'm not going to do anything, which was really good, right? the whole thing with the whole Black Ulafala stuff, whatever, captains, okay, I guess that's a nice little touch, but yeah.
I like the story thread of it though, because and also sidebar, like Roman, you're on the ground. You could have just looked up at Solo or looked up at Jacob and shouted, "Help me!" Like you could, it just would have taken 2 words. But you're like, he's in soundness, he can hear you. But when it comes to the Black Ulafalas, and by the way, clip this please, because I want to hear what the fans think. But when it comes to the Black Ulafalas, I like this because giving Jimmy and Jacob by name an actual title in the bloodline, head of the table, captains, enforcer, everybody else, honorary Usos. I like this because it means more turmoil for Jacob, who was clearly very despondent that they received that honor and he hadn't, because he had done everything Roman had asked. Even if he had failed, he had done it without question. But because they succeeded in one thing, they got the honor. And remember what I said. Once upon a time, not too long ago, like Jacob literally told them, I don't answer to you, Jimmy, and I don't answer to your punk ass Jay. I only answer to the tribal chief. But the tribal chief tonight said, you disrespect them, you disrespect me. Anything they say, you treat it as if I said it. And I wonder if that goes for Jacob too. Because if it does, there's going to be a hell of a lot more friction between Jay and Jacob now. Because now Jay has the authority and the word of the tribal chief to make Jacob's life a living hell. Any other thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Well, no. I mean, you cut me off again. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm good, bro. I said everything I wanted to when it comes to this. It was a really good fucking finish to Monday Night Raw.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Snug Wrestling. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate every single one of you for supporting the show as always. That wraps it up for the Monday Night Raw review for August 17th, 2026 out of Buffalo, New York. You can catch us live every Monday night after Raw, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, and 6 o'clock Pacific for our live post-show reviews for NXT. Then every Thursday at the same time on TikTok Live, where we discuss random or relevant topics for wrestling and answer your fan questions live. And every Sunday at those same times for our SmackDown post-show reviews, we go live on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and Kick for every live episode. And if you don't catch us live and you want to see us, we have the video formats of these podcasts where you can see all of our handsome, delightful faces on our YouTube channel, Snug Wrestling, and our entire library of all these episodes and shows over on our Apple and Spotify. And then you can follow us everywhere on all social media under Snug Wrestling, Apple and Spotify as well. Grab your merch at tpublic.com/Snug Wrestling to support the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay savage, and stay snug here with us on Snug Wrestling.